maybe that's why they're looking a little bit slow today. Maybe it's taking them a little while to get used to whatever new structures they're trying to implement. But nonetheless, they're up 2-0, so who can really complain? Assuming they get the 4-0, which, well, it still kind of looks like they will.
I'm out of here.
What are we going to see?
Standard fare.
Standard goats from the drop bands. Winston goats from Melbourne. Seems to play out well, but you got to be careful not to lose your Winston. They're trying to farm multi-charge. Thought we were going to go outside, but we're not. We're going to go up to the high ground. Looking for that first pick, and we talked about it. There we go. The shield bash came through from CKM. The damage was followed up there by the rest of the drop bears. And Mini goes down, and now Objective A opened up here for the drop bears.
Yeah, Mini just a little bit out of position there. He really needs to be harassing them when they're on the low ground. And then I think he tries to overcompensate for that on the high ground there by just playing a little bit more aggressive than was entirely necessary. As you say, he gets shield bashed, he gets absolutely bursted down by Sydney Drop Bears, and it's going to give them over point A quite easily. The one disadvantage for Sydney Drop Bears of that is it means that now going into point B, they're still kind of running in dry.
They haven't really got anything to work with. If anything, the one thing is that Titawatt's going to have an Urshatter potentially faster than Mini can have his, but
I think the real thing to look at, Ben, is the Graviton Surge here from Huss is coming up shortly.
It's true. Question is, where's the Diva on the far side for now, getting back into the thick of things, and Winter goes down. This is not looking good for Melbourne. The grab comes through, captures most of them, forces the Transcendence. This Urshatter is going to be able to come through as well. Sound Barrier used that, 2 support ultimates now coming through. And, well, the Sound Barrier will keep them alive, but it's going to keep them alive snoozing on the ground.
Yeah, that's just unfortunate for Melbourne Mavericks. Every single ultimate there that was thrown in from Sydney Drop Bears had really nice value from it. Guzto's going to get demeked before he even gets back to the point. This is most certainly Sydney Drop Bears' point to lose, and that's a very fast cap.
Mini doesn't get onto the point, but Mini's corpse does.
Doesn't make a difference, unfortunately, for Melbourne Mavericks.
That is a lot of time in the time bank. A lot of time.
Yep.
Like, a lot. 5:51.
Okay.
Okay.
Might as well have just said, Sydney Drop Bears, don't worry about attacking. You can just start on defense, but we'll just assume you capped out 2 points basically as fast as you possibly could.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of what happened. Like, it went so quickly anyway. It almost feels like we haven't even really started the map yet.
Is it still half-time? I don't know.
What is Melbourne Mavericks going to run on their attack? Sydney Drop Bears, I think we can assume quite safely, should be looking to go for goats as much as they possibly can. So on their defense, I'm expecting that's what they will end up running.
Is there potential, I was going to say, is there potential for this DPS comp to come out from Melbourne? Because we know, obviously, they have the advantage of attacking. They have the advantage of being able to swap off if it doesn't work. We take a look at what the Drop Bears are playing. Standard fare for them, Winston Goats, but I was thinking maybe we might see the Ana come out or something like that. Maybe we see the Ash.
Nope.
Not the case.
Winston Goats is pretty good still on the first point. It gives you the ability to contest actually once they're onto the point, gives you the ability to really cause havoc on the way to the point for the attacking side. Assuming it's a Ghost composition, but against Melbourne Mavericks, you can't really assume that because, well, look at what we've got here.
And he's going to literally roll on out here with the Wrecking Ball. Let's see if Melbourne can make the most of this opportunity. Forball swaps across. No, they're literally like, we actually don't want to do this.
Look,
we're just going to play Goats.
Maybe they were expecting a Reinhardt on the defense, but the Winston has kind of thrown a spanner in the works.
But okay, I'm not even going to ask why you'd expect that when literally no one else is playing Reinhardt on defense. Titawatt lurking. This is how you want to play that Winston, Jordan. Fluoro going to go down as well. Already now up to 50% of the charge. Holding the left click, the Tesla cannon. Getting so much damage down through the shield. Well.
And I like that Sydney Drop Bears commit to that fight as well. A lot of the time you'll see, okay, the Winston gets 20 or 30%, and then Sydney Drop Bears allow Melbourne Mavericks all the way up to the top. up to the high ground. That's where the real fight ensues. But Sydney Drop Bears just committing to that fight. You could tell Teetawat was 100% committed to that fight because he invests the leap the way that he did. He invested it for the damage. Wasn't getting out of there. Everyone else from Sydney Drop Bears follows him up, backs him up, and it's a really clean fight victory. And once again, we're going to go back to square one, but this time with Primal Rage for Teetawat. So we'll see if Sydney Drop Bears can complete the defense here on Horizon Lunar Colony better than Order were able to. Got to ensure that that Primal Rage gets off in this fight, and again, it should be another fight win. We're
going to fight. Look at this outside. And now the problem with getting Primal Rage, look, I'm going to break my rules here, Jordan. The problem with getting Primal Rage when you're outside is that you don't ever come back.
Yep, you can't. So not much that Melbourne Mavericks could do there, but that's exactly what I'm talking about. That's ideal for Sydney Drop Bears, that they're able to rotate through their ultimates like this.
Yep.
We'll have the grab combo up in the next fight here.
I kind of wish if you got knocked out with the Primal Rage, you never actually get to respawn, unless you make it to like the Earth's atmosphere.
Oh, you just kept flying.
You just keep going. And then maybe if you're Diva, you can fly back in. You're going to take the high ground, and they will be able to get the high ground. The Drop Bears maybe a little bit out-positioned here by the Melbourne Mavericks, who, with 1:30 on the clock, managed to walk their way back onto the point.
Well, they got that one tick.
Has the grab available as well, and Forbles has now gone down.
They might not even need this grab. Look how low Winter is.
I was going to say, they needed to find Teetawat, though, which they do. Self-destruct right into the middle of things. This is going to cause a ruckus. Fluoro goes down. Mini trying his darndest here, but I'm not sure if it's going to be enough.
It's not indeed. All right, so Hasa and Shoyo elect to put their ultimates in there. As I said, maybe not entirely necessary given the way the fight was going, but in the end, I think it probably would have been. If they hadn't thrown it, then Melbourne Mavericks might have turned it around.
So surely Melbourne win this fight.
You would think so, but double support ultimate for Sydney Drop Bears. We know a Kraken and Bertlog are very good at generally keeping their team alive. Primal Rage is here for Teetawat as well, though he doesn't get in position initially to use it as he wanted to.
Caught out here, needs to not be out positioned. And the grab available to Nami also. Might be able to even keep them off the fight. We'll see how it's used. Elfishguy, a very split up Sydney Drop Bears. Teetawat will get shield bash. That Primal Rage comes out. Self-destruct goes through. Finds Bertlog. They're on the point. Transcendence used by Forbles. Fluoro still has the sound barrier in the back pocket, and with no Bertlog, no sound barrier available for the Drop Bears.
No defensive support ultimate here, though, for Melbourne Mavericks. Once this grab gets thrown out, unless it is eaten, that may be the turning point. Haas actually, I think, is just going to elect to give this fight up.
Well, you need the damage, right? That's the question. If he throws it in, can they follow it up with damage?
I feel like if he threw it in, they may have had a chance, but he's gone for the safer option. And it's really unfortunate for Sydney Drop Bears there that Bertlog is the one that dies to the self-destruct, but that happens sometimes. Not much Bertlog himself could have done about it. I think he was stuck in the grab, just hoping that his teammates could keep him alive, but crucial pick, actually, for Melbourne Mavericks.
Yeah.
Still, they have a time deficit.
One pick potentially turning that whole fight, Jordan. The sound barrier now will come out. An aggressive sound barrier followed up with an aggressive grab will lock this fight in for the Sydney Drop Bears. And for now, they're going to be safe. 3:20 on the clock, and they're just buying time. Series potential as well for the Drop Bears just to hold this point.
Have to agree. 3 minutes. It's a long time to hold, actually, on point B. But we know Sydney Drop Bears are a team that is capable of doing that. And Kraken now has the Transcendence once more, and there's a self-destruct here, which I really love self-destruct on this point because there's so much that you can do with it.
I actually really struggle with my self-destruct here.
Well, I think that just goes to show.
Earthshatter, that's a huge Earthshatter. 1, 2, 3, 4. Does not manage to capture a Kraken, though, who pops the Transcendence. Teetawat follows up, but his is far less successful. Forbles with the trans as well. Nami with the grab, but it's going to get stopped. This is not working out at all.
This charge is pretty important for Teetawat, and actually he hits Mini. That's huge. Mini goes down, and now this fight should well go the way of Sydney Drop Bears. Rally coming out from CKM just to buff them up a little bit. In fact, the respawns are coming across for Melbourne Mavericks pretty quickly.
They're getting in just in the nick of time. Nami's followed up with a couple of quick picks as well. They need to follow it up with more. Fluoro with the D-Mech. Shoyo Going to get finished off there by Winter as well. There's 2 ticks looking for 3. 2 minutes on the clock. T-Dot trying to contest, but Bertlog can't make it either.
Twice. He tried twice. He got booted away once by Forbles and then shield bashed by Winter. That's excellent from Melbourne Mavericks.
Well, it's the sort of plays you needed to see, wasn't it? They could not afford to let this go in to overtime. They couldn't let themselves run out of time bank. Now, 2 minutes to 5:51 looks very lopsided. And to be fair, it is, but it is definitely possible to go A then B and still come out with something left in the tank.
Yeah, certainly with 2 minutes. Melbourne Mavericks also will be afforded probably an extra fight because they have that one more minute than is the baseline here in the time banks. We saw that out from Blank. You know, they went into the time bank here with 1 minute and they weren't able to get anything done. They had 89% on point A. But I think with a second fight onto their back pocket, they may well have knocked that over. So that sort of opens up all kinds of possibilities heading into point B, depending on where the ultimates are at, what they're looking like, and what Sydney Drop Bears is looking like on the defense as far as their ultimate economy is as well. But with an EMP here, that Nami could well build up in 2 minutes, I think the pass score really for Melbourne Mavericks here is going to have to be capping out point A and point B. If you get any less than that, then...
No, I agree, because what you're talking about here is you've got over 6 minutes for the Drop Bears as well, when you add that extra 30 seconds on board, right? Assuming they capture objective A. So Melbourne going to roll out the traditional goats once again. The Drop Bears running essentially the same comp that we saw from them before on defense. This time, though, they're going to get the high ground. T-Dot's not going to get the charge that we saw from the first time. No. And now they have to try and engage onto objective
That's a great dive.
And do so without a Reinhardt. But as you said, if you find Forbles finding the Zen is actually a pretty huge play coming out from T-Dot. Kind of makes up for the fact that they kind of struggled in the first 30 seconds of this round.
Yeah, and while I said maybe a second fight would be useful for Melbourne Mavericks, I'm going to have to retract that statement now. I think this second fight is well and truly in the bag for Sydney Drop Bears almost. With the Primal Rage and a rally, there's not enough there for Melbourne Mavericks to really chunk through all of that health pool that Sydney Drop Bears are going to have. Not to mention, of course, if things kind of get a little bit close, then a Kraken just throws in the Transcendence. Melbourne Mavericks have really put themselves in a difficult position here. They needed to have a closer first fight.
Primal Rage is used again. A rinse and repeat of what we saw before. Everyone trying to stay alive. Actually, T-Dot going to go down to Mini. Maybe caught out just a little bit with no sort of healing there either. In the end, everyone available for Melbourne on the flip side. And this kind of opens them up, potentially, to find this first objective. But can Huss hold them off with a grab?
Yeah, the grab definitely going to be quite potent. No defensive support ult just yet for Melbourne Mavericks. No Transcendence comes up now. Grab got eaten.
Gusto coming through with the intercept there onto the grab. The self-destruct comes through naked into the fight. The sound barrier used by Melbourne as well. Earthshatter comes through from Mini. Forbles and Gusto both with ultimates available. Forbles throws out his everything now. Going into the pot. Shoyo somehow stopping that grab as well. You think surely in this position Melbourne can find this point.
A little surprising, actually, that Sydney Drop Bears invested so much in there. I thought that a Kraken, at the very least, would hold on to the Transcendence. But I suppose there is a sound barrier for Bertlog, worst case scenario, so it is one support ultimate here for Sydney Drop Bears. None, in fact, actually, for Melbourne Mavericks. Yeah. All in all, maybe it's worth trying to throw that Transcendence in to turn things around. Huss also built a grab in the last fight, so difficult to believe that Melbourne Mavericks will cap point B, but I also thought it was difficult for them to cap point A, so maybe they can make some magic happen here.
If they do it, it's going to be into overtime. There'll be no time bank available. Bertlog with an aggressive sound barrier, and they're just going to grab them off the point. Nothing Gusto can do this time around. That was a very clean fight in the end, coming up from the Drop Bears. However, some may suggest that it should not have got that far.
Yeah, probably not, but look, you say maybe not got that far, but I don't know if that even is still enough for Melbourne Mavericks. Like, they probably, like I said, need to get 2 full caps, point A and point B, to really contest here with 5 minutes and 51 on the clock.
Yeah, it's 6 minutes 21.
Well, that's true.
You know what I mean?
Assuming you cap point A.
Look, Jordan, if they can't get, if the Sydney Drop Bears cannot get the first objective
Well, if they can't get the first objective in 6
5 minutes and 51 seconds, I don't even know what's going on.
Then they don't deserve to win the map.
Which is true anyway, but you're also right. They do not deserve to win that. That's the case.
Is it going to be a Bastion setup here for Melbourne Mavericks?
Yes, let's do it.
That's the
let's
cheese.
do it. Put them up there. Get your Bastions out. I'm so ready. But 551 a Bastion? That's a lot of Bastions that you have. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that just has to go perfectly. And I feel like Bastion strats sort of work for like 2 or 3 minutes, but eventually once the ults come up here for Sydney Drop Bears, if Huss is going to stay on Sombra once he gets an EMP, you know, that forces Winter out of his position. And yeah, I just don't see it happening here for Melbourne Mavericks.
I actually like the Junkrat that we saw earlier a little bit more than the Bastion in terms of timing, right? Because that Riptide is so much more effective
Taking the objective
than Configuration Tank is. So the Drop Bear's like, okay. Fair enough. You're going to play a Bastion. We're going to bring out the Genji. We're going for the Nanoblade.
It's the full dive comp.
Yeah, let's go.
Bertlog has the Mercy. Play pocket the Genji, perhaps. This will be interesting. We've never really seen straight up dive. Like, we've seen obviously variations of Goat's comp with dive elements. But this, well and truly, is a dive comp from Sydney Drop Bears.
Yeah.
The 2-2-2 hasn't worked out at all, as you can see.
No, it hasn't.
They have literally just been mown down by Winter.
But let's be real, you're feeding ulti charge into a Bastion that, I don't know, I'd probably rather just stay in sentry mode than go into tank mode.
Bertlog's gone straight onto the Lucio, which kind of makes more sense to me than the Mercy did. But Huss built a lot of EMP charge in that last fight. He has been spotted here. Has actually translocate out of the Sleek Dart. But again, really it's just a matter of time before Huss builds this EMP. That's where Sydney Drop Bears have their best chance of breaking this defense. This will be another fight where he just wants to get enough damage across to get himself close to EMP for the next.
Nami with a couple of good headshots there. Both Kraken and C-Cam going to go down to that. Look, Jordan, we've wasted 1 minute and 50 seconds. Just 4 to go.
Yep.
All right. So, if this Melbourne team can get through the first round of ultis from the Drop Bears, do you then change it up?
Yes, I think so.
You just make things a little bit different and make them start all over again. Huss going to go down early on to Winter.
Well, it's very difficult for the Sombra to survive when there is an infra site. I'll say that much. So not much Huss could do there.
No.
This will be the fight, or maybe you even wait another fight here until CCAM has that Dragon Blade, and then we have the infamous EMP Dragon Blade combo that we saw so much of a couple of seasons ago.
EMP Nanoblade combo.
Even that?
Yeah, with Primal Rage.
Nope, they're going to commit anyway. They don't need the Nanoblade.
Well, that's going to find 2, Jordan. And the Nanoblade's going to be saved potentially for the next fight. No, throws it out. Winter's picked back up and brought back down again almost immediately. The supercharger from Mini. And to be fair, Fluoro doing a pretty good job keeping the tank alive, but it is inevitable in this sort of situation that they will go down. Now,
do you know what?
Yeah?
I'm going to say it. It's been so long since we saw Genji, I actually missed watching Dragon Blades.
You missed the Dragon Blade.
I missed the Dragon Blades. I used to go, I'm so sick of this. We have seen Dragon Blade after Dragon Blade after Dragon Blade. But it has been a while, and it's nice to see. Straight on to the standard stuff, though, for Sydney Drop Bears.
Certainly is. We are looking for 33%, Jordan. And at this point, we do now know, of course, that the Sydney Drop Bears will win the match.
Yep.
At worst, it'll be a draw here on Horizon, which puts them 2-0 up, but I'm watching this and I'm thinking, I think we might see a win here to them on Horizon as well. The self-destruct not going to find any picks. As soon as that goes down, Titawat back into the thick of things. The Kraken goes down to Winter, but Nami traded back by Shoyo. Sound barrier used by the Drop Bears as well. Titawat just sitting here, having a great old time on the Winston, holding left click right into the back line. Very difficult to play any of these squishy players when you get your Winston right in your face. Finally, Baubles puts a sleep dart into it. But it's very difficult to stop them getting 33% here.
Yeah, really not much pressure being put on the T-Watt there at all. The grab goes down from Haas. Maybe not the most effective of uses, but regardless, it's going to get the job done here. Sydney Drop Bears very close to finishing this map off, and I think it's just a matter of time. There we go. Sydney Drop Bears will secure the 3-0. Like you said, Ben, they'd already won the series with that tie being locked in. But that is just going to be another map on the board, and maps, again, very, very important for the teams that are sitting toward that 1, 2, and 3 position. It's all super, super critical.
It is. Look, to be fair, they went okay. Again, Melbourne played okay, and probably about as well as I thought maybe we'd see them up against this Drop Bears lineup. It is a very difficult team to play, and I think it's great now that we know they're not infallible, right? These teams can take them down, and look, to me, there's still an opportunity here for Watchpoint Gibraltar to go in the favour of this Melbourne lineup. But Sydney Drop Bears certainly not leaving anything in the back pocket today, right? They're making sure they're getting the victories. Would this have been different last week again if we'd seen the Drop Bears play these different lineups, or trying to counter change up a little bit earlier than what we saw? Maybe they learnt something last week. Maybe they think that this Melbourne lineup is a little bit easier to beat, so they can afford to change up. I'm not sure. But
you need to be able to change up in the way that the meta has sort of established itself this season. You can't really rely on GOATs. You're not winning games based on GOATs every single time like what we saw last season.
Lots of the time.
Well, even then, like I still think if we were to kind of go through the team compositions, which I may do later on down the track, and figure out how much GOATs we've actually seen run, I don't know that we necessarily would see it much more than maybe 60% of the time, 60, 70%. Which, when you look at last season, it was sort of
compared
more
to
like
last
90%.
Season, exactly. Compared to last season, it's actually not that much. As a team comp, though, that we're seeing time and time again, 70% of team comps being just 1 or 2 variations of the same strategy, obviously a little bit different, but is it sad to say I almost miss GOATs?
I guess, yeah. No,
I don't know. Like,
I don't really miss GOATs.
The dive is fun.
We still see GOATs all the time.
The dive is fun, but I also like, I don't know, just the shield bash wars.
One might say you would have Stockholm syndrome here. Have you ever considered that?
No, I haven't. That would have been funny if there was some tie-in to Stockholm syndrome and GOATs. Like if there was like a play on words that was similar to Stockholm syndrome, but related. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there wasn't.
Okay.
Anyway. Here we go. It is time for the 4th and final map of this matchup. The Drop Bears already locked themselves in a win. But as we alluded to before and each and every week, these maps are very important, particularly when we're rock, paper, scissoring our way to the top 3, Jordan. Very different to the last match as well.
Definitely not wrong. All right, Nami onto this Widowmaker. Winters, oh, what is going on there? I'm not sure how Winters got himself in that position, but Melbourne Mavericks may well even lose first off of that. Yeah, look at this. The payload very quickly making its way to checkpoint A. High ground. Oh my goodness. T-Watt going to get caught out eventually. Seemed like a good idea at the time. Yeah, this is maybe a little over-ego from Sydney Drop Bears, much the same as Winter. I actually just watched it back and he literally just shield bashed off the high ground for some reason. But it actually hasn't cost Melbourne Mavericks the point, which is beautiful. I wonder what that was. Maybe someone disconnects on Sydney Drop Bears there. I'm not sure. I don't know. But now we can chat more about that great start. Yep. It was almost a very good start. Well, it was. I mean, you can say I would say it's a good start. It's not a great start necessarily. Like a great start would have been capitalizing that and actually turning that into pointing. Yeah, exactly. Capping it. It's good in the sense that, yeah, they get the payload up that far pretty quickly and easily. Well, it's one fight away now, right? But I feel like Watchpoint Gibraltar A is almost always one fight away. You know, you get it through that first phase of the map pretty cleanly. Generally speaking, you just push. As long as the teams are sort of evenly matched, you're not going to see the defenders really commit too hard to the defense there until it comes up the ramp, starts coming up the ramp. That's where the fight really starts. And there it's basically one fight away. So kind of knocking on the door right now as Sydney Drop Bears, but it doesn't really make much of a difference if it's there or if it's sort of on the ramp still. Either way, one fight's going to be the difference.
Yeah.
Good. Glad we've established that.
That's about it. That's all I've got to say.
Okay.
Well, seriously though, this Melbourne lineup, like what we've seen them for it last week, they played Legacy. I feel like last week's game was maybe a little bit closer than it should have been.
I would definitely say that. So it seemed like Legacy had opportunities actually to win that series, which they didn't take grasp of.
Do you think that these Melbourne lineups maybe in that middle ground potentially where you're like, we're almost good enough to beat the top teams, but we still struggle against some of the other teams?
Yeah.
Is that 4th spot worth fighting for in this playoff?
Certainly.
Is that...
Placing is always important, right? Especially going into a playoff system like this one, which affords the top 2 the placing through to semis, and then you have to play from 3 to 6 down. So 4th is going to play 5th, which at the moment is actually Legacy. Probably would say it's going to be ground 0.
Imagine if it was Legacy. Just imagine. What a world that would be. Melbourne going to get their ultis up a little bit earlier than what Sydney will this next fight.
Well, this
Again,
is dangerous.
Teeterwatt just straight into the thick of things with that shield on him as well, the bubble. Now Transcendence, everything being popped here by Melbourne, throwing quite a lot into this fight, including now that Primal Rage from Mini, but it's Winter down, it's Baubles down, the self-destruct needs to be big. Let's actually show you it didn't need to be big at all. The fight was actually almost won already.
That's sometimes how it goes with Widowmaker. Either you hit every shot and totally win the fight for your team, or you miss every shot and basically lose the fight for your team. And in that case, Nami didn't really do too much at all. Obviously, a lot of pressure being put on to him. Well done from Teeterwatt. Sydney Drop Bears cap up point A pretty comfortably indeed. 4 minutes here. The Widowmaker still persisting, and Gusto gets the pick onto a Kraken. So already not a bad start here in phase B of the map on the defense for Melbourne Mavericks.
The grab right into the payload coming out from Haas, and Fluoro goes down. Haas stayed alive for a little bit, but eventually goes down. But Teeterwatt with the Primal Rage finds another. Nami low, Baubles low. The payload getting very close already. About to get round the corner, but there'll be another fight or two here from Melbourne. The defense. Will it be enough? Not for this fight.
Well, Nami's going to swap off, and I think that's fair enough. The Zaya here should have a lot more value than the Widowmaker, unless the Widowmaker was like kind of popping off, which, to be fair, it really wasn't. Which I think has forced this swap for Melbourne Mavericks. Now, it is a bit late, of course. Zaya, no charge at all. Kraken gets forced off the high ground here, so that probably means that the rest of Sydney Drop Bears have to as well.
Yeah, they got to drop back down and kind of give up that high ground and fight it down next to the payload. At least that Transcendence is still available and not yet used. There you go, you see it go out just as CKM was getting a little bit low as well. Looking for the first pick, but Baubles and Gusto combined to push them back. Teeterwatt low, stays alive, but it's CKM who's found out there. Traded back 1 for 1, brings it down, but the next 2 picks make it the next 3 picks go in favour of Melbourne.
Just comes off the back of them having the Transcendence up a little bit later. A Kraken throws his early, and then Forballs responds in kind. The Transcendence lasts a lot longer for Melbourne Mavericks in that instance. And Teeterwatt was already sort of out of position that whole time as well, because he was trying to avoid the self-destruct and taking so much free damage from Mini that as soon as the self-destruct sort of blew up and he jumped away, Mini just decides to follow and finish him off. Really nice from the Melbourne Mavericks. Good on the defense thus far. And they'll build a sound barrier into the next fight as well. So they're rotating through the economy very nicely.
Mini going to try and fight this one out. Waiting for that Primal Rage. Just, I guess it's all free time here right now for Melbourne. What are the Drop Bears waiting for? They're waiting for Bertlog potentially with the sound barrier. Sound barrier going to come out from Fluoro though, and Baubles actually going to go down even though that is the case. Bertlog immediately pops his sound barrier, hits 3 out of 6. That's those aren't pretty good numbers, to be perfectly honest. And Mini's going to fold this up onto Shoyo, who did not have a sound barrier to work with.
Teeterwatt with the Primal Rage right now, trying to put in some work for his team. Graviton Surge down by Haas, and that actually is going to eventuate into 2 kills. Nami and Baubles now down, and Haas starting to clean up. He's got a lot of charge here, doing a lot of damage. And eventually, Sydney Drop Bears is going to finish off the point.
The Mavericks actually not doing too poorly here towards checkpoint B. They actually feel like they managed to just grind back quite a bit of time. Still 2.5 minutes now for Sydney to work with heading towards Objective C, but not the end of the world for Melbourne.
My ultimate is charging.
Slow and steady push here from Sydney Drop Bears. Won't see really much of a contest from Melbourne Mavericks until we get up to the corner. Kraken, Shoyo both having ultimates right now. Melbourne Mavericks looking a little bit dry as well. See what this Graviton Surge can do from Nami as he starts to push forward and look for the angles.
Yeah, need a good off angle here to make the most of it. Do not want this eaten by Shoyo, that is for sure, Jordan. But the payload has continued to move. There we go, lurking in the background. That's Huss throwing it out. Nami counters self-destruct, takes out a fair chunk of damage, but the sound barrier has gone out and keeps half the team alive. Mini now goes down, and these picks going in the favour of the Drop Bears indicate to me, Jordan, that the payload is heading towards Objective C. Yeah,
most certainly does seem that way. It's a good, clean fight for Sydney Drop Bears. They haven't lost a player, and that is really what you need in a situation like this. Winter just gets himself back into safety. The recontest coming on through here, but it's like running the gauntlet, and there's no way that you're getting through those Sydney Drop Bears players. Transcendence out from 4 balls. We'll buy some time, but it is a last-ditch effort.
Well, it is just a little bit of time. Yeah, there's the self-destruct, the last-ditch effort. Won't do what it needs to, and the Drop Bears will complete Watch Point Gibraltar. Did you used to watch Gladiators back in the day?
You mean like on the TV?
Yeah. How old were you? Was it like 95? How were you in 95?
I'm not sure. Are we talking about the same Gladiators?
Initiating match.
It's like, Gladiators, are you ready?
Yeah. That wasn't in 95.
It was in 95.
Okay, well, it may have
started in 95.
I think it was still going around the 2000s.
Maybe.
Because when I was, by the way, Ben, in 1995, I was 2 years old.
Right.
Well, really 1 year old.
That was out at Boondall. I can't believe, if that was now, I would have gone and watched it. The point is, the gauntlet was like the, you know what I mean? I feel like sometimes they'd let him through, though.
Yeah.
You know, because one person would have, like, the big gloves.
Yep.
One person would have, like...
a stick.
A stick thing, yeah. What else was... I don't even know. Was it just those two things? I feel like the gloves were, like, lame.
Lame?
Yeah.
All right.
It's like, what am I even doing here? Surely I need something more than 2 big gloves. Do you see anyone in Overwatch with 2 big gloves? No.
Incoming in 30 seconds.
Just trying to think.
The answer's no, Jordan.
I guess like Reinhardt, you could argue.
He's got a hammer.
Yeah, but he's got gloves on.
Yes, but that's not what he's using. He's not just standing there with like, look at
that's
my
not
hands.
What you asked.
I'm going.
That's not what you asked.
Yes,
you said,
is
there anyone with 2 big gloves in Overwatch?
That's
and
not
I was like,
what
yes.
I was asking, and you know it.
Oh, well.
So glad you're not here on Wednesday.
So glad as well.
All right, let's go. 1 minute and 5 in the time bank for the Drop Bears. Melbourne looking to do it more. Oh, that's not going to help.
No. And this is a little bit more like it for Sydney Drop Bears.
Look at this. They've got the there was a Symmetra. Was that what they used?
Yeah, they had a portal there.
Whatever. All right.
All right. I like watching Ash.
No, me too. It's what we were talking about before, right? That kind of plays that you can't do yourself, and it's very easy to watch and appreciate good Ash plays.
Yeah.
Plus, you hear lots of tick, 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 tick.
Yeah,
tick.
which is very satisfying.
It is, yeah.
Speaking of which, Winter needs some heals, and he won't get it in time.
No. Nice work, Huss. Well done. But the payload will get moving. Elfishguy would say that normally you're entitled to this amount of payload movement for free anyway, so what does it really matter?
As you can see, yeah. I mean, it's really, like, literally only one player pushing it right now for Melbourne Mavericks. They well and truly lost the fight, but they've basically gotten up the ramp anyway. So that fight's not too big of a deal in terms of being able to push for Melbourne Mavericks, but it is a big deal in terms of giving up ult charge.
They're going to go through the room onto the high ground. Bob thrown out onto, well, I guess Bob's going to do work because he will find out Winter. Mini goes down as well. 2 picks going in the Drop Bears' favour. And if we take a look at what they used there, it was literally just Bob.
Very solid, clean fight out from Sydney Drop Bears, but they still need to deal with a couple more. Nami struggled, actually, to get too much ult charge here on the EMP. Typically, after 2 fights like that, you'd really want to be seeing yourself at 90% or even having picked up the ultimate already. actually finds a Kraken though. So it's a couple of trades actually backwards and forwards, which is favourable enough for Melbourne Mavericks right now that they do want to continue the push on forward. Res onto a Kraken though will slow things down.
Us kept alive also. Bertlog doing work on the Mercy. Fun little team comp we're seeing here on defense from the Drop Bears, and to be fair, it hasn't gone too poorly for them. They've got another couple of ultis to work with as well. Looking for that Nano Blade now. What can Winter do here, Jordan? This is the big play. This is what you've been looking out for. You love the Dragon Blade. It's going to be a Nano Blade pushing through. Doesn't find anyone. Bob's going to come out. Just, no, there we go. It's actually Mini who finds the pick, but Titawat will take out Forbles, and Bob was thrown onto the point also. Kraken picked back up by Bertlog. Elfishguy getting excited here as CKM takes on Winter. Yeah,
CKM just literally grapples right at the Genji. Not sure that's exactly what you want to be doing as the Widowmaker, but it works out.
The thick of things finds Mini, kind of sort of mops up really what was left of Mini, to be fair, and now 60 seconds on the clock, Jordan. Will it be a hold on Objective A here for the Drop Bears?
Looks like it may well be, though there is a lot still to work with here for Melbourne Mavericks. But the way that Sydney Drop Bears negotiated that Nano Blade, I was very impressed by. A lot of boops. EMP here, though, not so easy to negotiate. It's really on to Nami kind of missing it, aside as opposed to Sydney Drop Bears doing much about it. Because they don't have a rig. What are you going to really do here?
Nami, EMP picks up 3. Titawat's been slapped as well as EMP. This is surely the fight that the Melbourne Mavericks can win. They found a number of picks of payload going through. I don't really think anyone can test this, so I'm going to add more time to the time bank, Jordan. We'll try again.
It was pretty nice positioning from a Kraken. He was able to sort of survive through the EMP, but he just doesn't have enough time to actually get that Transcendence off. So if he would have been able to get Trans there, different story for Sydney Drop Bears. But here we are, back at square one now, headed into Phase B. And Sydney Drop Bears look like they want to swap off. CKM just going a little bit crazy there on Hanzo, deep diving, but he'll be going on to Brig here, one would imagine.
I might need this later.
Sounded fair here for Sydney Drop Bears. 2 minutes 25 though for Melbourne Mavericks, not a lot of time, certainly enough. What we're really looking for once again is going to be that EMP.
Dragon Strike will come on through. No one going to go down to it, but Nami caught out by CKM. Primal Rage about to come out from Mini. The Nano Boost was already on there. Maybe a tad too early, maybe just the right amount of time. Who even knows? Fluro finds one. The payload should start moving, but Huss captures Mini out, and the Drop Bears start to get back into the thick of things here, start to regain their ground. Gusto brings it back. Winter doing work as well, and just as it looks like the Drop Bears are going to stabilize Melbourne, get the payload moving.
But they're not going to get it moving far enough to actually cap out just yet. That's why you can see they're taking these advanced positions. They're going to try and make it difficult for Sydney Drop Bears to push on back in. Nami doing all the scouting. He's going to be saying they're coming from high ground, they're coming from low ground, left side, but they know exactly where the attack is going to come from. It's just not going to be enough to stop it before the contest happens from Sydney Drop Bears.
Oh, see ya. Shoyo again with the intercept onto Winter's Dragon Strike. The Drop Bears somehow just absolutely destroy what's left of this Melbourne lineup.
The Kraken finds Nami, or Nami finds a Kraken. Either way, it's not going to work out nicely here for Nami.
Nami caught out. That's who's going to get found. Translocate. I don't know if they were going through there looking for a translocated Sombra. But they find one nonetheless. EMP going to be available here. Sound Barrier going to be available. That's about it for Melbourne.
Gravisurge is available here for Huss as well. It's going to really be this one last fight. And I mean, unless Nami hits the banger of an EMP, this is going to be it. Look at everything that Sydney Drop Bears has.
He's got to run around as well. Not wanting to jump in there with the EMP.
It's hard here as well. Look at how separated Sydney Drop Bears is.
Yeah. And he's done a full loop, Jordan.
Didn't hit Huss. Or did.
Been forced to do a full loop running through, but the rest of the team actually going to have a fight much closer to their spawn instead. Huss goes down to Mini. ZKM is low, Shoyo low, but a Kraken finds Vorbles. The battle of the Zens going to a Kraken this time around. Shoyo the same onto his counterpart. 7 seconds on the clock. They're forced to fight now onto the payload. But the contest is coming through. Mini finds a Kraken. They're going to have a number of players left alive here, this Melbourne lineup. And Mini's actually done quite a bit of work, but I'm not sure if it's enough.
Well, the respawns are starting to come back in for Sydney Drop Bears. Shoyo's still not here yet, though, and there is a chance for Melbourne Mavericks. They're a lot healthier than Sydney Drop Bears are right now. They're pushing on forward. I think they're going to do this.
They're getting close, that is for sure. The EMP available once again. The 3-man EMP going in favour of Nami.
If Bertlog survives long enough to get the sound barrier off, that's where the turning point is going to be. In fact, actually, it's already turned around.
Yeah.
There's the sound barrier, but that might just be the nail in the coffin more so than anything else.
It is indeed, Jordan. This is looking to be a 4-0 for the Sydney Drop Bears over the Melbourne Mavericks. And, well, by the end of today, this scoreboard is going to be still in a shambles. Going to be very, very interesting next week, that is for sure.
Yeah, very much so. Pretty decent series in the end there. I think obviously for Sydney Drop Bears, they'll be happy with that 4-0. You can't really complain too much when you're getting maximum points on the board. But with that said, it took them a little while to sort of ramp into that series. So I think they looked a lot better in the second half once we got into Rise and Lunar Colony, once we looked at Watchpoint Gibraltar, particularly Watchpoint Gibraltar seemed sort of more what we expected out from them. But it's not peak performance at the moment, I don't think, from Sydney Drop Bears.
Yeah, I kind of want to say, hey, Melbourne, you did pretty well. That wasn't so bad. You know, this is the top team. You probably didn't expect to win. But I kind of get the feeling here that you're thinking this is not top-tier Drop Bears lineup that they went up against today. No,
definitely not. And Melbourne Mavericks, it's probably expected that they lose this series.
Yeah.
It still doesn't put them in a bad position for heading into playoffs or that kind of thing. You know, they've still got another week here against Order. Again, if they can do something against Order, then that still throws the standings into shambles. But even if they do lose against Sydney Drop Bears and Order, or one of which has already been occurring, then, you know, they're still probably going to take 4th place in the standings, which I think for Melbourne Mavericks, actually looking at this season and the way that it's shaped up, is probably about as good as it was going to get at the start. There was sort of questions about who was going to place 3rd, but once we sort of see
once we know that Blank is actually playing well, right, then the 3rd is kind of locked off, and there's no real opportunity there, right? That's from what we're seeing here. There's these 3 top teams. It's no longer 1.5 top teams. It is 3 top teams that we've got. And then the fight is for 4th, and it is actually a very important spot. And as you kind of alluded to earlier, Jordan, knowing that this Melbourne Mavericks lineup did kind of have a bit of an easier run through the start of the season, and for them, it is kind of that gauntlet, right? They're getting tougher and tougher opponents, and now they've gone up against the Drop Bears and they've lost, which to be expected.
Yeah.
Next week they have to go up against Order. It's going to be very tough, and if they can't find even any maps against these 2 teams, then maybe they're going to find themselves not in 4th place, potentially.
There's 2 ways to look at it. I still think they're going to get 4th place, regardless. But the one way to look at it is, okay, we've had some really strong match practice at the end of the season heading into playoffs, which prepares us for whatever our matchup is going to be. The other thing is maybe they just totally get absolutely tilted off the face of the earth by getting wrecked by Sydney Drop Bears and Order, if that's the case.
Yeah.
And then they go into playoffs feeling awful. Also, by the way, having lost last season's playoffs as well.
Look, here's the real talk, Jordan. With the confidence that I saw teams come into Season 3 finals of 2018, I don't think any shellacking at the end of the season.
But is that all just talk? Is that just talk, or is that real confidence?
Nah.
Because I
think it's real confidence. I think they have good scrims, and then come out of their scrims and go, all right, boys, we're ready to win.
I mean, I can say with all confidence I'm the best commentator in the world. But if I speak to myself
Let's go to a Macca's Player of the Game. Let's go. We're done. A McDonald's Australia Player of the Game. The Sydney Drop Bears up against the Melbourne Mavericks. Look at this here on Nepal.
Yeah, good combo. Grab surge combo out from Huss and Shoyo. Let's see what else goes on here. If there's any more little intricacies. Doesn't look like it. There's obviously no shield going down there from Melbourne Mavericks, so it's fairly straightforward.
Yeah. Mini, I don't even think was in that fight, because Mini obviously doesn't go down in the fight, so must have already previously gone down, wasn't there. The reality is not much to work with, right, in that sort of situation. What do you even do?
Not really much, I guess. You just die.
That's exactly why they just literally placed the self-destruct right in the middle of the point.
Well, exactly. That's why it kind of makes it easy, really, for Shoyo in that sense, when you don't have to navigate around Zai